Today is June 14th. It's Flag Day here on Claves Online. Welcome on in to Daily Cards Live. He's Bob Ramsey. I'm Joe Roderick, and we're brought to you by Munganast St. Louis Acura and Royal Banks of Missouri. And Rammer, before we even get to today's lineups and the series this weekend up in Wrigley, as you and I both know, Claves in Flag Day, it's very near and dear to his heart, and that's when he says, you know that you could start looking, what a team is going to be like, and you kind of figure out the rest of the year. So I'll ask you, here we are. It's Flag Day. Cardinals come into the game at 33-34. What kind of team is this?
It's not good, but and this plays into management's narrative. It's not good, but it's in a huge group of National League and American League teams for that matter, but National League teams that are all really mediocre. So who will be willing between now and July 31st to pull the trigger to get just above that crowd there that are within 3 or 4 games of 500 on either side of the 500 mark? And that's going to be the key. Who will make the right moves at the right time to go from around 500 to maybe by the end of the year get to double digits over 500 and be in the playoffs?
Wild card standings, number 2 in the wild card through number 9 in the wild card. Those teams, those 8 teams are separated, Rammer, by 3 games.
Yep. They're all
3 games for those. It's a given. At some point, one of these teams is going to get real hot. They're going to go on an 8 to 10 game winning streak, and they're going to put themselves up there in the same level as what the Braves are right now and separate themselves from the pack. And also, one of those teams is going to fall off. One of those teams is going to go on an 8-game lose. Yeah, at least one. So when it's all said and done, we're probably going to be looking at 4 or 5 teams going for that third wild card spot by the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And you just got to figure it out. In my view, the Cardinals need a big-time hitter. Mm-hmm. Now, the Cardinals will say, we think it's internal. We think that Goldschmidt will get back to being Goldie. Arenado will get back to being Arenado. And if those 2 things happen, they're right. But what do we think the odds of that are? The other thing I think they need is a stud, not just a body, but a stud starting pitcher. I don't think there's an internal option for that. I don't think you can convince me of one anyway.
I go off what Mo said last week to the season ticket holders, talking about how one of the big things they're going for at the trade deadline is going to be a right-handed hitting center fielder. And so you start looking around.
I got the guy.
Who? Okay, so right-handed hitting center fielder on teams that are out of it. Teams that will be out of it. Who's your guy?
Well, this team thinks they're still in it, but they're not. You are going to get excited because it's one of those Joe Roderick type names.
Mike Trout.
Thank you very much. See, I know how to connect with you.
Is that really who you were going to say? I mean,
why wouldn't you go for it?
He's just because he's not. I just don't think the Angels are at a place where they are going to. I just don't see that being a mid-season parting of the way. I feel like if they ever get rid of Mike Trout, it's going to be an off-season move to where they can get back as much as possible for him when he's also at his healthiest. Right now, dealing with injuries again this season, I think what they would get in return is not as good as what they could get if they sit with multiple teams at the GM meetings, the winter meetings.
So wait a minute,
and get something then.
If you're a GM, a non-Angels GM, and you've got a shot at him now as opposed to the winter, what difference does it make?
I don't.
As you're a GM, you and I are in the front office. You're Mo, I'm Gersh. Oh, let's we can lowball him now. What? It's Mike Trout. You do what you got to do to get him. Now, do I think it's going to happen? I do not. But there's the answer for you, even a banged up Mike Trout.
Yeah, you
have another name?
I just kind of looking around at the rest of baseball. I wonder what the Rays are going to do at the deadline. A name like a Jose Siri. He's 28. He's right-handed. Last year had an outstanding season, playing in 100 games for the Rays, 25 home runs there. But that's, again, I mean, that's average-wise, it's not better than what you have right now on the team. You look at a team like the Marlins. I don't know what they have in center field, right? I mean, Jazz Chisholm's their center fielder.
I don't think they will move him. I think they're making him their centerpiece.
Yeah,
now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they would like to move him because he's not enough of a centerpiece. But that's one you kick the tires on, absolutely.
The White Sox have come out and they have said everybody's available. They're willing to get rid of everybody. Two right-handers there in their on their team right now that play outfield is Luis Robert and Tommy Pham.
Pham's injured. You've probably been down that road, and you probably don't want him in center field. I don't think Robert's a center fielder either. There's a guy you buy low on, and I'd love to have him. I think his upside potential, we've seen how good he can be. I think that would be a reasonable get, but it still doesn't solve center field.
No, it doesn't. And same with, I mean, he's playing there for them. I mean, you look at their outfield, it's Andrew Benintendi also, and he's their everyday left field guy. He's having a really bad season too.
Yeah, he's been hurt.
Right. You want guys that are going to be able to help you.
Here's a guy that is also not in the equation because of history and history with him. But you know his numbers aren't good now because he's been hurt, but who's playing really well is Lane Thomas.
Right. That's
really well.
Got ejected yesterday for not saying a word. And then another guy, I mean, we go down the injury line, Esteury Ruiz of the A's. Again, another righty. He's not having a great year either. Last year was one of their the A's best offensive players. It's just, for the team that needs as much as they do with pitching and with that the hitter that plays center field, you can't give up pitching to get that. And I don't know what young guys you have in the organization either to do that. So it's one of those where, Kevin Kiermaier was a name that was thrown around Cardinals talk several years ago when he was with the Rays.
You've got that guy.
Yeah, so
you got multiple guys like him.
Exactly. So if you go through and you look at all these teams that are, that are going to be sellers at the trade deadline, I don't know what's out there.
It doesn't jump out at you, does it?
No, you're going to need. I think limiting yourself to a center fielder, you might have to give up defense to get offense.
And I would. I don't think they're in a position to do that because the defense is not good anyway. And by the way, nationally, I watch a lot of the highlight shows and stuff. Mason Wynn got a little bit hosed in recognition yesterday. That dive, we talked about it on the podcast, the diving play up the middle to get up and throw the guy out. That was a key moment in the game, and nobody was paying attention to it. I thought it was a great play.
Yeah, that was that was, and he's the one that once he starts getting the highlights, it's going to go a long way to helping him get those Gold Gloves in the future.
Now he's got to cut down on his errors, no question about it. But he's a kid, and he will. By the way, he will cut down. He is going to be a great player. I firmly believe it.
Yeah. Lots of really fun matchups in baseball this weekend. We'll talk more about those in just a second. But we do have Cardinals and Cubs. 1:20 start time up at Wrigley Field Friday afternoon at Wrigley. No better atmosphere on a Friday in all of baseball. Kyle Gibson going up against Jordan Wicks this afternoon. And here is what we have for the lineups for today. Mason Wynn leads off again, plays short. Alec Burleson in right field. Paul Goldschmidt at first. Nolan Arenado, he is in the lineup. He's batting fourth, and he's playing third base for the Cardinals. So the injury, the hit by pitch or the foul ball, I guess, late in the game yesterday is not affecting him being in the lineup today. Nolan Gorman is going to play second base and bat fifth. Ivan Herrera, DHs. Dylan Carlson in center. Brendan Donovan in left. And Pedro Pajes, once again, is behind the plate. Ivan Herrera, like I mentioned, DHing. So both catchers in the lineup today. For the Cubs, their lineup looks like this. Mike Tauchman is in center. Christopher Morel is at third. Cody Bellinger, DHs. Seiya Suzuki in right. Ian Happ in left. Nico Horner at second. Michael Busch at first. Dansby Swanson batting eighth and playing short. And Miguel Amaya is behind the plate for the Cubs, who yesterday in their game against the Rays bunted 3 plays in a row. 3 batters in a row all laid down bunts. And they scored 2 runs off of those 2. So Craig Counsell using small ball yesterday.
Despite what the analytics people say as that ongoing war continues, the anti-buntites out there, small ball works. Mm-hmm. You got to execute, but if you execute, it absolutely works. And so good for the Cubs. You know, their lineup is really mediocre when you look at the numbers, but they do a pretty good job of producing runs with the middle of the order despite low numbers. It's like their guys pick their spots, and Bellinger is such a good player. His numbers are down a little bit. Remember, he's been hurt. He's one of those guys, every time I look at their box score, I go, God, he'd be a great Cardinal.
Cardinals tomorrow, we'll see Andre Palante versus Shoto Imanaga, who we have not seen yet for the Cubs this year. 6-1 with a 1.96 ERA, leader right now for NL Rookie of the Year, I would say, in my opinion. And that could be a really fun matchup, depending on which Andre Palante we see show up in Wrigley tomorrow.
I think you got to get Wicks today. I like the odds better, a lot better. If you can get him today, and if you did, you probably have to win 6-5 or something like that. He gives up a lot of hits. He doesn't walk many. So you got to be swinging the bat against him, and you can hit him. But he's got a 3-to-1 strikeout walk ratio. Little bit different from Gibson. Doesn't give up a lot of hits, but you can get some walks off Gibson. So it'll be an interesting battle between those two.
Then on Sunday, it's Miles Michaelis against Jamison Talion. All the games this weekend, afternoon games. Today, the 120 game. Tomorrow, it is another 120 game. And then on Sunday, I believe that's the Roku TV game. It's a 12:05 start time. So make sure to fire up your Roku TV or your Roku stick so you can watch Sunday afternoon Cubs and Cardinals.
Or if you don't have that, which I don't, we'll be listening to Mike Claiborne, John Rooney, and Rick Horton on KMOX.
The other games I mentioned, this weekend series, baseball has done a good job of scheduling this weekend. Rammer, you have Yankees at Boston, I believe, for the first time this season. That series starts up tonight. You have the best series of the weekend is Phillies and Orioles. Both teams coming in. Phillies 46-22, Orioles 45-23. This is a potential World Series matchup that we're getting this weekend in Baltimore. Guardians,
there'll be lots of fans from each at the ballpark. Those two cities are very close to each other. It'll be a great series. I agree with you.
Guardians and Blue Jays this weekend as the Blue Jays are struggling to find themselves. Rays and Braves this weekend. Rays trying to keep themselves prevalent in the AL wild card race. And then also out on the West Coast, Rammer, you have Royals and Dodgers, which I don't think at the beginning of the year we would have said was one of the series to watch this weekend. And then Rangers and Mariners. So just if you have MLB TV and you don't have a whole lot going on Friday nights or any other at Saturday or Sunday afternoon, you put that on, you're going to find a good game this weekend.
Yeah, Mariners-Rangers are interesting. The Rangers are really struggling. Adolis Garcia, he's struggled the last month. Simeon and Seager are really good. Both of them get dinged up have been a little dinged up and not in the lineup every day. They've lost some guys for the season, but they're right behind the Mariners, who the only way they can win is to pitch. And they do have good pitching, but not enough offense to get very much over 500, I don't think.
If you've noticed this year, Rammer, not a whole lot of people have been ripping John Mozeliak for the performances of Adolis Garcia or Randy Arozarena. I don't know if you've noticed that. It was real loud last year. This year, crickets.
Well,
Funny how that works.
Arozarena's ready to play himself out of baseball.
Yeah.
He's horrible.
Yeah. And that's part of why the Rays were, I don't know if they're still last place in the AL East, but I know we're last week at some point. Yeah. So not a whole lot of critics stepping up to talk about those moves anymore.
Garcia, I think, is still legit. He's just been in a horrible slump and not much hitting behind him. Not ready to give up on that guy, but Arozarena, he's got some image and performance rehabilitation to take care of here pretty quickly.
Well, Rammer, this weekend, all those great games of baseball being played around the country, but a lot of good youth baseball being played out at Ballparks National, Lake of the Ozarks. What do you guys have going out there this weekend?
Biggest event we've ever had, over 100 teams. It started on Wednesday, and we'll wrap up on Sunday, so we're right in the middle of it. We're using our fields. We're using other fields in the lake region, and it is huge. Had some storm damage last night, but it won't affect any of the fields, and it's a big deal at the lake this weekend. Thank you for mentioning.
2 weeks until I'm out there for the tournament. Is that going to be an even bigger weekend then? I mean, I know that's your most popular weekend of the year.
It has been the biggest every year until this year. Oh. We have a group called Athletics, a national organization who has centered one of their events at our place. So, but for the tournaments that we produce, Ballin' and Brawlin' at the end of June every year is our biggest and really, really fun.
Can't wait to make it down there for that. Rammer, I have my alumni game this weekend. That's on Saturday tonight. For the first time ever, we are doing an alumni home run derby at one of the smaller fields out at Gordon Moore in Alton.
Don't hurt your back.
So Rammer, unlike some of the tournaments that you guys run there at Ballparks National, there are 0 bat restrictions here in the home run derby tonight. I have borrowed for the evening one of the drop 5 hype fires that are illegal
in many organizations.
I found my way to get my hands on one for tonight.
Who are you? Are you Sammy Sosa or Joey Bell?
You know what? It's going to be with the way the left hamstring's been barking lately. It's going to be a lot of Frank Thomas swings lifting that back leg up as I hit.
Between the home run derby and catching on Sunday, I want a full injury / misery report on Monday.
I'll get a marker and I'll circle the parts of my body that are hurting. Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to get a whiteboard, draw that guy, and show all the places.
I was going to say just on me. You want the whiteboard? Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're talking different things here. Hey, that's going to do it for us here on today's Daily Cards Live. We will talk to you again on Monday. For Bob Ramsey, I'm Joe Roderick. We've been brought to you by the folks at Royal Banks of Missouri and Munganass St. Louis Acura right here on Claibs Online.
From our roots in St. Louis, Royal Banks of Missouri is branching out to continue serving you with our locations in St. Charles, Jerseyville, Granite City, and now in Hannibal, Center, and New London. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank in your community.